All right, moving on. So we created our patient profile. Now let's do our initial assessments and discover these results. So how do we assess with Kinvent? Well, I'll go over these pre-recorded protocols. I'll go over questionnaires. I'll show you how to create a customized protocol, how to search for an actual test, how to add your favorite exercises, how to perform a test, how to present the results, and how to train. So this is a lot that we're now going to get into. And this is really how you utilize this in clinical practice. So let's transition again to the app itself. And now you should see on the screen here. And I'll go step by step through these different processes. So the first thing is you've now done all the onboarding to get the technology set up. You have patients logged in, you have a profile, you're ready to go. Well, how do we figure out different protocols? How do we know what to test? How do we take the next step? Well, it's very simple. For testing, you just go to assessments and you'll click right here and you'll click on assessments. Now, assessments gives you all of this data, all this information. You could see you have exercise types. You can either do a single exercise, such as these. You can highlight protocols, which are set protocols that go through different types of testing. And you also have different forms like the ACL-RSI, the WOMAC, and these are different subjective report questionnaires. This is amazing. The ability to have these forms integrated within the app, and your patients can start these, they can fill them out, and you can add them to their chart and information, just makes things so seamless. So you do have the single tests, the protocols, and the forms. And then based on your device, let's say I only have the K-Grip. I only have that. You can click on that and you can utilize your single tests or protocols for the K-Grip. Let's say you only have the K-Push. Well, you can click on that and now you have all the tests, single tests and protocols there. You can click on both and you have those options. That's a little cheat sheet or a way to get a little bit closer, quicker to the different tests you want to use or utilize. You have body parts. So let's say you want to test the shoulder. You can click shoulder and you can be able to access the shoulder. You have the different types, and based on your subscription, there's different access. So how do you add new assessments? So these are all the current assessments that are in the Kinvent Physio app. Now, if you want to add new ones, I know for myself, there's different things that I test that are not in here. So what do? Well, you just hit add new, and you can either add a single assessment or you can add an entire protocol. So a single assessment, for example, the description of my assessment I would put here would be shoulder MMT in scaption. I like testing in scaption because it's more of a functional plane. And I can even put more details here, 90 degrees, for example. So now I'm testing in 90 degrees of humeral flexion, but I'm the plane of the scapula. So it's not flexion or abduction. So this would then be, I could put instructions. I can either list that there, keep it blank. I can add an image to cue me to that test. I can hit next. How do I test that? Well, I test that with the push device. I would click there. I hit next again. Which interface? Well, we're doing a max evaluation assessment. Do I want to have any exercises? Nope, this is just an assessment, so I keep that there. And then anatomy, which body regions? Well, I'm doing both sides. We're looking at, this is a shoulder test. This is a strength test. This is testing the external rotators and the angles at 90 degrees. Finish. And now I have that new test that I just added in here. And so this is shoulder MMT and scaption 90 degrees. And I can click on that and I can go through and set up that specific test that I made. So this is our ability to create your own single assessment or exercise. Now, protocols are fascinating. These really speed things up and make the process very efficient. So if you click on protocol, now I have this protocol name. I'll say Jared's specialized protocol. So this is the protocol that I would protocol. And you could put an author here if you need. And you could put any particular images. You can select an image that you have on your computer. You can upload one. I could put an entire description here. And then I click the flow. What activities compromise this protocol? I want to add new activities. Well, what do I like to do for the shoulder? Backwards rowing for infra. I want to add in this 90-degree scaption that I just added. It's very helpful. And I also want to test in this position, this 45 degrees flexion. And if that's my shoulder screen, if those are 3 components that I want to use and utilize, I hit done. I have the timing, the sets, reps. I have the whole process here. I can mix, move, change, adjust as I need. I can click on it and change which side to start with, the different amounts of preparation. I can save that. I can hit done. And that's now my specialized protocol. Save changes, and I can start the protocol if needed. And you can see here, I could start and go about that process. I'm going to go ahead and stop though for now. So this now gives you this amazing ability to create your own protocols. And that really speeds up the process. You can see here, Jared's specialized protocol. Everything is listed. I grab a patient, I go through the testing, and it's very efficient to set up. So this is how we create our own protocols and our own single assessments. Any questions with setting that up? I know Felipe had that question, how do you create your own forms? That's exactly how to do so. These are predefined, and these allow you to create this protocol in the moment or create your exercises in the moment. Now that we've gone through the process of setting up these protocols and setting up single exercises, it's now time to start with the test itself and to begin with seeing how we can utilize these tools. So I'm going to utilize K-Grip, for example, and single test, we'll utilize K-Grip here, and I'm going to deselect all these other aspects, and we're going to look at grip strength. Now, in order to do so, I need to turn on the device. And I'll show you right now this process. I'm going to stop sharing so you can see me. We have the device, single click button. Now this is turned on. It is blinking green. Now this will change from a blinking green to a solid blue once everything is connected. And so here you could see this is what we're choosing to do, a grip assessment. We have the definition of the process to standardize the test. We have the tool utilized. This is a suggested configuration. And then I love this. These are the instructions for the patients. This test will tell me your maximum grip strength when I say go, and then you continue reading this, and it's standardized for every single patient. You also have the references. You have a protocol here. You have references or resources that are associated with it. And so now you're ready to go. You just hit start activity. And you'll see on the top right that there's a toggle that's looking for the device. And once it finds the device, it clicks right here to a blue check mark. And guess what? What you'll be able to see now is this blue check mark or this blue blinking button on the device itself. So now we know that we are connected. We're ready to go. Blue check mark, blue on the device. Let's set our parameters. Now we want to start with the right side. We have a preparation time. We can make it 5 seconds or we can make it customized. I'll do 3 seconds. We'll be a little bit more efficient with this. How many repetitions do we want to perform? Typically 3, but since I'm demoing this, I want to demo other devices. I'll put 1. How long of a duration? You can make custom or anywhere between 3 and 30 seconds, or you can customize for longer. And rest between repetitions. We're only doing 1 repetition, it doesn't matter. But if we have more than 1 repetition, you could put your rest time, 3, 5, or custom. I love this feature. Capture video. Now I put high quality video, but your space on your app does matter how much video you do want to store. But I love seeing any compensations that may occur while testing, so I select that. And then hit start. Initializing the camera, countdown, and squeeze. And maximum contraction on that right side, 5 seconds. We see this other side coming in, squeeze. Maximum contraction on this other side for 5 seconds. You can see there's a nice gauge showing. I typically do not show that to the patient because I do not want that, at least in testing, to bias the result. But you can see here now we have our readout. We have the patient up here. We have the session. If I wanted to say pain level, I could say the pain level on a VAS scale from that patient. I could put any comments that I could put here. Insert comment. I want to put for the patient to note. And then here, this is amazing. For the patient, we then have several components. We have peak force, left side 16.2, right 18.1. I'm right hand dominant. Didn't squeeze as hard as I probably should have, but that's okay. We have the asymmetry that's shown with this orange and blue graph, and 10.1 asymmetry, which is common for a dominant side. And at the bottom, you see the population average. We have 28.6 is the average, so I'm well below that population average. And you could see the left side, right side compared to that. That's helpful for patients. Now, patients are competitive, and so am I. So what if I were to redo this test? I may do it in a moment. We'll see a couple different parameters, but I kind of want to beat that 28.6, so we'll see. Now we have the interactive graph and values, which you can toggle or untoggle here. But by toggling this, we then now have the values and the graph. And the graph you can click on. I love showing this ability. You can show different points of time of where intersections and peaks happen. You can see population average as that dotted line on the top of the screen. Oof, I have a little bit ways that I have to go to achieve that. And then you have parameters, peak force, average, rate of force development, time to max, and fatigue levels. You have the asymmetries, you have the left and the right comparisons here. This is gold. It is so useful for our patients. You have advanced parameters. I look a lot at time bands for rate of force development, and you can look at each of the different time bands here as well. You can look at impulse and some other advanced values too. So there's a lot of data sets that you could achieve, but let's go ahead and retest that grip activity. This is now same patient. Now you're testing them. You went through a rehab program. This is now 2 months later, and you have the exact same parameters. We're now going to go through another test, right side. And this time I'm not going to do the video just so you can see on the screen all this data and information. And then we're going to see the other side. You could see the max value here adjusting. You could see the average over time. You could see the repetitions, and you could see the test. And now you can see with this patient, over time, they've gotten a little stronger. Now their pain level is maybe at a 1. You could put any comments here. Their right side has now achieved that close to the population average. And then you could see the graphs in time and development. So this is a really nice way to be able to compare and contrast and track patients over time. And that's just using the grip strength as an example. So we are now back to this process. And I just want to highlight one thing is we now go all the way back to this original tab. And now you can see that we have the total progress of this patient that is loaded here. And that is very helpful. This is your snapshot of this patient. And you can click on that and you can actually export this data, this information into a PDF, into a comparison over time. It takes the information data points, and you can compare this first session that we had with the last session itself and completely turn this into something that you either give the patient, give a physician, or give another medical provider. And you can see over time this increase in the right-sided strength, 55%, a little bit of increase in the left side, and their pain scale has decreased. This saves a lot of time and makes things so efficient. Creating these reports is so helpful. And then we have this PDF that we can then create that shows us all that information that we need. So just know, don't forget that after you create the patient profile, after you test, you do want to see their total progress over time. Now I'll do one more assessment. Let's go ahead and do this K-push. And let's do K-push for the shoulder. And here again, you have all the information, you have the tools, you have the steps, you have the configuration that's suggested. And now we're looking at peak force, but also rate of force development. That is something that how quickly they can activate their maximal force. So now we start this. I'm going to start on my right-hand side. Remember, we click on the button right here, single press of the button. I'm going to hit connect next available. It's going to find it. We'll get that blue check mark in a moment. Troubleshooting wise, if you don't get that blue check mark, just restart the app, turn off the device, you'll get it again. Don't worry. If you are not getting it, if for some reason there is Bluetooth connectivity issues, go back to the settings, enable you to allow USB connection, plug in the USB, and you have a direct connection. But there's rarely issues with that. Start on the right side, 5 seconds prep. We'll do 1 repetition, 5 seconds rest, 5 seconds duration, and then rest, we'll do custom, let's do 15 seconds rest. More time to set up. I oftentimes make longer rest times if I need to walk around the patient or set something up. Or if it's a maximal muscle effort, you can even turn this to 3 minutes so you give them enough time for recovery. Now I'll hit start, and I'm just going to mock this just so you see. I'm going to press in. This is on myself. Obviously, I'll be doing it like in the image on the top right. 15 seconds rest. I walk around to the other side of the patient. I get set up. I put them in that position. Make sure I have the right time, the setup, lock it in, and you'll hear a beep, 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 and then this pressure pushing in, and you'll be able to then get that value. So this is the K-push. Again, you could put the VAS scale. You have that asymmetry difference. You have your asymmetry 5.27.0, all of your parameters, and then your population average and standard deviation. Now the question came up about advanced parameters. How do we use these? Typically, the ones that I do use is rate of force development at different time bands. And so looking at between 0 and 50 milliseconds, 0 to 100 milliseconds, or 0 to 150, how quickly force is developing. And you can see here that on the left side, there was initial push of force, but it stayed developing low. And for the right side, you could see that there was this initial surge at 4.34 kilograms of force right off the bat. So that was a rapid force production. So in the population I work with, which is rock climbers, they're able to generate maybe about 80% of their force in the first 0 to 50 milliseconds. That's great. That means that they can contact the hold quicker, and they may actually be a different style of climber, which is a boulderer versus a route climber. But that's beyond what we need to go into. That's more advanced observations. But I just wanted to be able to share that information so that everyone has that available. The norms are listed on the screen in here, are listed on the screen and on the app based on the tests and different parameters. I can tell you that the best norms for patients are less comparing against others, more comparing against themselves. And it is variable based on the body region, based on the literature, what is a normal asymmetry. But typically in a well-rounded individual, if it is greater than 10% the asymmetry, in general, that may be something that you need to observe and track over time, especially if it is their affected side. If it's their dominant limb or arm, you can expect around up to 10% just because that's their dominant side. We went through the protocols. I'll talk a little bit about questionnaires. We talked a little bit about those with the ACL RSI, went through custom protocols, how to find tests. You can add favorites to exercises. We went through a test, presented the results. So let's just talk about training now.